Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. You can get a free audio download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Alan. And Alan is spelled A-L-A-N for those that don't know. Again, audibletrial.com/Alan. There's over 180,000 titles to choose from on your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. If I were to recommend a couple books that are on my shelf in my library today, I would recommend The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle or Principles, Life and Work. And in the Audible version of those, you're going to get your money's worth. I believe Principles is something like 16 hours of audio. And Ray Dalio himself actually narrates most of the book. So again, go to audibletrial.com/Alan to get your free audiobook download and 30-day free trial.
For all of us, it's about predicting where the consumer is going and getting half of it right.
One of the things we want to do is create ads that don't suck.
Embracing change creates great possibility.
I'm Alan Hart, and this is Marketing Today. The next set of interviews are recorded at the Internet Summit in Raleigh, North Carolina earlier this year. His first interview is with Eli Schwartz. Eli is an SEO expert and consultant with more than a decade of experience driving SEO and growth programs for leading B2B and B2C companies. He's helped clients like Shutterstock, Nile, Quora, GetAround, Mixpanel, and Zen Desk build and execute global SEO strategies. In the past, Eli led the SEO team at SurveyMonkey, building organic search to one of the largest growth drivers at the company. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Eli Schwartz. Welcome to the show, Eli.
It's great to be here.
I know we've got a little background noise for those listening because we're at the Internet Summit and you're speaking. So, but I know you're going to talk about SEO, but when did you get into SEO?
You know, I sort of fell into it by accident. I was working at a company called QuinStreet, which is an affiliate marketing lead generation company. They were helping connect affiliates who knew how to drive traffic with companies that needed leads. So, for example, in 2006, during the mortgage crisis, there were a lot of people that wanted to buy subprime leads, and there were a lot of affiliates that knew how to fish in the dirty pools of the sewers to find people that didn't deserve mortgages but needed mortgages. They connected them. So I was working there, I was working with those affiliates, and they were getting $50,000 checks a month, and they were driving all their traffic with SEO. So I decided what they were doing was so much more interesting than what I was doing, and I started reverse engineering their processes. I'd get on the phone with them. My goal was to get them to drive more leads. But instead, I was like, tell me, where do you do keyword research? Like, how do you get backlinks? How'd you pick your domain name? And then I started doing it on the side and pretty much built a career in that from there.
That's interesting. So I know you're going to be talking about a provocative area of SEO here at the Internet Summit. And I wondered if you could tell us, for those that aren't here at the Internet Summit, why are the basic SEO practices just not working?
So the basic SEO practices have been the same from when I started doing SEO. It's the same as those affiliates told me to do. Pick some keyword research, put them in your title tag, put that content on your website, build some links to it. So those are the basics. That hasn't changed since Google started. But everything about Google has changed. So I live in Silicon Valley, and the streets around my house are teeming with self-driving cars made by Google. Google, more than any other company, has driven more miles self-driving than anybody else.
Wow.
So they've driven 5 billion miles in the last 9 years. So they're using their technology to make decisions that literally save lives and prevent deaths. They can make a right on red. They know when to make a right on red. They know when someone's running across the street. They know when there's a ball on the street they could drive over. They know when there's a kid in the street they shouldn't. They know all these things, yet we treat Google on the search side as if they're really dumb and we can trick them. So that's where SEO has to change. You know, when people talk about, oh, it's all about the user and user intent, Google actually is using AI, so they're like a fake user. We need to think about Google as another user who can read content and can process thoughts and understand quality. And that's what not a lot of people are incorporating into their SEO best practices.
So does that mean that there is kind of a need to not just stuff your keywords in your content, but actually write good content that humans would like to read?
Amazingly, yes. We actually have to write good content that people could read. You know, there's this thing called EAT, where Google said you need to have in your content has to be expertise, authoritative, and trustworthy. And then I've had clients ask me, like, did I put enough EAT into my content? I'm like, are you real? If you're real, then you shouldn't ask that question. Like, did I manage to pretend that I am real? Either you're real or you're not real.
Right.
And that's where, when it comes to like SEO best practices, people focus too much on like, did they check all the boxes?
Right.
Have they managed to trick Google? And really, if you can manage to trick users, then you will definitely trick Google. So if your thing is tricking somebody, trick users, and then you'll trick
Right.
Google.
Interesting. Well, what should practitioners do? I think you're going to talk about a 4-step process.
So I love to use data for making decisions around SEO. So my favorite tool is Google Search Console. So my 4-step process is really get rid of any idea of best practices being the way to work. Then move on to data. And the data I use is coming from Google Search Console. It shows you the keywords you're already driving traffic from. That's your keyword research. It shows you the URLs that are driving traffic. Those are the URLs you want to focus on. It shows you the keywords you're getting impressions on. Those are the keywords you want to focus on and get more traffic, more higher rankings, more people clicking.
Right.
It shows you the click-through rate from Google. If that's not good, work on improving the click-through rate by updating your titles. Then moving on from there, taking that data and using it to grow. So turning those keywords into new content, looking around your industry, seeing what kind of content people are already writing. There's this advice, you need 1,000 words, long-form content in order to rank. You don't need long-form content if no one else has long-form content. There's advice, you need to have images. You don't need images if no one else in your industry has images. And then from there, putting it in a process of experimentation. So just like with any other product, you can do experimentation where you want to know, what should the price be? Let's raise the price. Let's lower the price. Let's change the call to action. And the same thing should be done for SEO. It should never be this process where it's SEO'd and done. Like when I worked inside companies, there was always this thing from engineers, like, I'm done this thing. Can you SEO it? There is no SEO. It's a continuous process. If you've done an experiment and it's worked, figure out how to tweak that experiment to make it even better and continue to drive more traffic from it. And really, as you're running these experiments, you should have learnings from it that you should be able to translate into something else.
Well, I'm a big fan of SEO, I guess, in the fact that it's an asset that just keeps giving and giving and giving if you do it right. Right?
Yeah. I mean, my favorite stat around SEO is there's a number floating around the internet about how there are 4% of clicks from search go into ads. So only 4%. So Google's driving $100 billion a year off of 4% of clicks. Now, we can't multiply that 4% times 25 to figure out the organic number because there's a certain amount of searches that are just searches for information. So let's be conservative, multiply it by 10. That's $1 trillion. There's $1 trillion in organic search value. So I think that's continue to grow. Google's doing self-driving cars because they want us to use the internet more, not because they think we're suddenly going to start searching less. So
they're protecting their turf.
They're
with
protecting
the self-driving cars.
They're putting these devices in our houses so we can speak to them and do more searches. There's a certain amount of search that exists today, and I think in a few years from now, I don't know that it's going to 2x it, but it's certainly going to be a lot bigger than it is today.
Awesome. Are there examples, either from your prior work? I know you were formerly with SurveyMonkey most recently, but I think you have done other clients as well in the past and now. Any examples come to mind of people that are getting it right?
My favorite example of somebody that's getting it right is TripAdvisor. Yeah. So they the key to success for TripAdvisor that no one could imitate is they actually got into it 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. So if you want to do that, you should get into it early. You should find that space and get into it. Amazon did the same thing. While every other e-commerce company, well, they weren't even e-commerce, they were just retail. We're trying to figure out, should they do the internet? Should they not do the internet? Amazon's like, we're only doing the internet. We're going to do this thing. And then, when Target got around it, they're like, oh, Amazon's already number one. Walmart, still not really around it. Amazon's number one. So TripAdvisor's like that. They dominate on all that travel search, except what TripAdvisor does is they continue to experiment on trying to improve the clicks and trying to improve the products. Like one search I like doing is, my kids always like to go to a hotel that has an indoor pool so they can go swimming at night. And there are pages on TripAdvisors for every single city of hotels with indoor pools. So they're continuing to iterate on the kind of content they have and the kind of pages they're creating and the title tags and the meta descriptions to get you to click through on that content. And then from a client perspective, I recently worked with Shutterstock, and they're the kind of product I really love to work on for SEO because they have, I think it's something like 20 million URLs. So you can't go in and write anything for 20 million URLs. Right. That all has to be programmatic, and their content's all commoditized and duplicated. I mean, a picture is a picture. It's the same on Shutterstock as on Getty and every other smaller photo site. Right. So figuring out the puzzle there and how to make Shutterstock, for the most part, rank higher than their competitors, because there's no way to really guarantee a higher ranking for everything. But for the most part, like, what are you going to put in place? Like, those are fun challenges.
Yeah, that's a huge challenge. And I never thought about the aspect of the programmatic SEO. Like, how do you tweak it to make it even better at that scale?
Yeah, so everything I do with my clients is programmatic SEO. I don't typically do keyword research and content marketing. It's really, I'm working with companies where there is a scalable approach. They just need to figure out that scalable approach. And they need to make a bet. So usually I'm doing product consulting where the companies I'm working with, they may have a large corpus of content that they want to release publicly, maybe coming from an app, but they don't know what they should release. What are the pages they should create? What are the languages they should focus on? They may have multiple languages. Do they want to have multiple languages when they create their website? So those are the decisions to make. And if you make the wrong decision, you probably won't find out for a year.
It's a gamble. It's a big one. Well, how do you think SEO fits into the overall marketing mix?
So I think it's a channel. So if you think about all the channels, this is the one that for many large companies is the one that they invest the least in. So the one they invest the most in is obviously paid marketing. And interestingly, throughout the time that I've been doing SEO and then through the time I've been doing SEO consulting, paid marketing is getting more expensive because Google and Facebook have shareholders and
they keep raising rates.
They keep raising it. They need to pass more value on to their shareholders. There's also Facebook and Google have had a privacy pivot because they've had privacy problems. And as they create their privacy pivot, it becomes illegal or just no longer able to target on things you shouldn't have been able to target on to begin with. So say you do only want to target high-income people to sell them mortgages, and you were able to do that before on Facebook. Now you're not able to. So you actually have to target low-income people too. And they're also going to click on your ad, and they're also going to cost you money. So your prices overall are going to go up. Same time, we have companies like Uber that buy every impression on Facebook. So that just makes it more expensive for everyone that does not want to buy more impressions. So what I'm seeing is that more and more companies are looking to invest in this channel. The way companies did SEO is they Googled it, they found some best practices guide, and they're like, okay, we need to have a title tag. So we've done SEO, but they didn't put someone in that actual seat. They haven't made anybody responsible for it. So now it's a marketing channel. They're starting to want to have someone responsible for it. They're starting to want to have someone to grow that channel. So it's a channel. And because it's, in many cases, solo effort, it's been an ignored channel.
Right. Totally agree. People underestimate the value of it. It's much like content marketing, frankly. A lot of people underestimate that as well. So interesting to see your thoughts. Last question for you. What do you think the future of search will be? They keep changing, right?
Yeah. So Google's ultimate goal is AI, which means that they want to be like humans. So the same way a human will do a search and say, well, that's not what I was looking for, and they'll refine their search. The same way a human will do a search and say, well, I don't like the first 5 results, I like result number 6. And they click into result number 6 and they say, well, that's not exactly what I was looking for. I want to go back and look for something else. I want to do another search. So Google can't really get there yet because they can't understand content. They can read content, they can put context together, so the kind of words are on the page, they can figure out what it's about, the images on the page. I love talking about this with people that have iPhones. I have an Android, I have a Pixel made by Google, so I get to see really what Google's produced. There's an app on Android called Google Lens, which you take a picture of something and it'll tell you what it is. Yeah. So I think there'll be more and more of diverse searches. So Google can recognize images. They don't need all text to tell you what an image is. They can recognize the image. I can take a picture of a product. They'll tell me what product it is, who makes it. Ultimately, they'll let me buy it. Right now, they won't let me buy it, right? So Instagram and their buy buttons, Google's going to have their buy buttons. So I think that's the future of search. It'll be much, much more intelligent, but also more useful. We're going to see more no-click results on Google, but that's a good thing. When you have a no-click result, like what's the weather today? 3 years ago, if you want to know what the weather was, you Googled what's the weather in Raleigh, and then you had to click into CBS News, and you had to click today only, and then it would tell you after you watched a video. Now Google just tells you. So I think we're going to see more and more of that because it's useful. And then from there, you'll do more searches because that's ultimately what Google wants. So future of search, there'll just be more ways to search. I don't think Google's putting devices in our houses, not for us to search, they're putting devices in our houses not because they just want to give us another way to play music. They want us to do more searches. So landscape of search will change, the way we're going to do search will change, and the things we'll get from search will change. You may be able to say hey, Google, what's the price of laundry detergent? And Google will say, it's going to be at your door in 2 hours. So ultimately, I think that's where they want to go.
Wow. Well, thank you for coming on the show today.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hi, it's Alan again. Marketing Today was created and produced by me. If you're new to Marketing Today, please feel free to write us a review on iTunes or your favorite listening platform. Don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends and colleagues about the show. I love to hear from listeners, and you can contact me at marketingtodaypodcast.com. There you'll also find complete show notes with links to anything we talk about on any episode. You can also search our archives. I'm Alan Hart, and this is Marketing Today. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. You can get a free audio download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Alan. And Alan is spelled A-L-A-N for those that don't know. Again, audibletrial.com/Alan.